Hi guys, so today I'm going to speak to you about 5 alternative reasons for financial independence. So typically, when I speak to you about this very subject, I talk to you about my progress with my wife, and then I teach you various hacks and things that have worked for us with the hope that it helps you work towards achieving financial independence for yourself as well. Okay, but the thing about financial independence is that there is an altogether different aspect that's not often talked about, okay? Aspects that actually exist in my personal life with my wife, things that are deeply personal to us, that I feel I need to start to talk about in order for you to start to hopefully appreciate these alternative reasons for pursuing financial independence. So these thoughts are going to go beyond just how financial independence is going to help you maybe travel more or kind of chill out a bit more or kind of pursue your own side hustles more. But these ideas will really start to help you look more outwardly, okay? For you to start to think about this idea of financial independence very, very differently. My name is Ken of the Humble Penny and Financial Joy Academy. What we do on this channel here is to give you the tips, the insights, the practical hacks to help you work towards a dream life of financial independence and money joy. Okay, right. So I just want to have a candid chat. Just for some context, I'm making this video at a time when yesterday we had the greatest ever support, and it's more support than I've ever seen in my kind of years of living for the Black community. We had Blackout Tuesday. For those of you, and hopefully everybody's watching this, either participated or at least had some ideas around what the day was about. Okay, so today I just wanted to just share with you my personal view on many things, but relating to financial independence and how it's connected to what yesterday was about, for example, and also how it's connected to my personal life and my wife, and how the sort of things that we do now in our lives that we are financially independent. What else do we do beyond traveling and all the things that people kind of look forward to and aim for when it comes to financial independence? What else do we get up to? I want to just talk to you about those very, very candidly. It's my hope that you are open-minded enough, that you are, as I refer to anyone who watches this, I refer to you guys as the fearless generation, the people who are open-minded enough to really think of life very differently. So I hope you are that person who's open-minded enough. And as you watch this specific video, I want you to begin to ask yourself, what are my alternative reasons for pursuing financial independence? Okay, so the things I'm going to share with you today are essentially my alternative reasons. I want you to think about what yours are. Some of them might be some of the reasons I've got, but I want you to really try and frame that in your mind. Write it down if you want, but I want you to really start to ponder upon it, because this will matter as you keep pursuing this journey and heading towards financial independence. Okay, so the first alternative reason is for financial empowerment. Okay, so I'm going to speak very personally here, and please excuse me for doing this. Okay, speaking very bluntly, I'm a Black African. So a lot of the challenges that people have been talking about and raising their fists about and maybe protesting about in our communities around the world are the same causes that affect me and my wife and my children every single day, okay? And I know, and you might think about this yourself, that a big reason why a lot of people get, injustices around the world, they get, essentially treated as minority groups and not given the same opportunities as many other groups in our society, is really down to the economics, the finances of this world. So a lot of us are not financially empowered enough to be able to sit on those tables, to be able to have certain conversations, to be able to make certain decisions. A lot of people from my community don't own assets, they don't own their own homes, they don't have, trust funds, they don't have things that they've left for their children, perhaps, they don't have inheritance. So there's so many things that are tied to money that we just don't talk about from a kind of community or race perspective. And I know for certain, as somebody who's immigrated to the UK and who started from nothing, I know that if we got this aspect of money right, we would see a very different outcome for our communities. Okay, so a big alternative reason for financial independence is this idea of empowering homes, of empowering families, such that those families are able to stand on their own 2 feet, they're able to own their own homes, they're able to own assets that generate income, they're able to have a great deal more independence, such that cumulatively and together through supporting each other, communities can move forward. Communities can sit at the table, okay? The black community, speaking specifically in the UK, can progress and move forward. We can have those decisions made. We can sit in higher places. We can support each other a great deal more. Okay, so for me, financial independence plays a critical role. So, for example, the decision for me to simplify my lifestyle here has the potential to impact our current community and our future community positively. Okay, because if I'm able to stand on my own 2 feet and with a right heart for supporting my community, then that has the impact of moving my community forward, although in a small way. But when you think about it cumulatively, when you have more people who are able to say that they're standing on their own 2 feet, confidently, strongly, financially, and you have that cumulative effect happening, you will see our community move forward. Same applies to other communities, by the way, just worth mentioning. But the idea here is that through people becoming more financially empowered, groups that are ordinarily treated as though they don't hold a place in the country can start to have more decision-making power and have more leverage in order to take a place at that table and move themselves forward. The second alternative reason is to become a catalyst for change. Okay, let me explain what I mean here exactly. When I talk about being a catalyst for change, I'm actually talking about you being in a position where you are an enabler for things happening. Okay, so I'm going to use the humble penny as an example and how we think of our audience and various groups within our audience to explain this point. Okay, so we have 3 main groups that we look at when we think about the humble penny and what we're doing here. Okay, so the people who come across the humble penny, who love what we do, who are interested and who are starting to change their mindset and starting to really start to think about their lives very differently, we refer to those people as our fearless dreamers. You might be one of those people. You are starting to think, yes, this idea of financial independence is something that's for me. It's something that will change my life radically. And I'm really now starting to optimize my life for it. So that's one group, the fearless dreamers. Next to that are the people we call our dream makers. These are the people who are now starting to take action. They're taking the steps to start to make financial independence real in their lives. So some of you might be our dream makers watching this. You're working with us closely, and you're the people who are saying essentially that you are one of the 10,000 people that we're trying to help become financially independent this decade. So those are the dream makers. And then there's a third group that we've never really talked about, but Mary and I, are acting in the capacity of the third group. And that third group are the people we call our dream architects, okay? Those people are the people who've become financially independent, and they are using their position as enablers and catalysts in helping other people achieve their dreams, achieve their goals, and helping them move forward. So in the same way that we are in our capacity at helping, we set out to put a goal out there of helping 10,000 families achieve financial independence this decade. And our dream is that those people in the middle, our dream makers, will one day become those dream architects. They'll become those people who have communities they're serving, who they'll be helping to achieve their goals in various ways. Those people who are those enablers and those catalysts have a heart for helping other people. And so the reason I think financial independence matters from this perspective is that when you get to the stage where you've essentially become an enabler and a catalyst for things happening, you're able to do that because you have the means. You found yourself gaining a lot more of your time back, giving you a lot more freedom, almost decluttering your mind such that you're able to focus not just on yourself, but now thinking a lot more outwardly and thinking a lot more about community and thinking a lot more about service, thinking a lot more about family, thinking a lot more about getting into the trenches and helping other people. Okay, so I just thought I'd just mention that because it's worth bearing in mind this other perspective, because oftentimes, as I mentioned at the start of this video, when we think about financial independence, we often just think of ourselves. The beauty of what makes this, and this is why we talk about this idea of financial joy, achieving this level of financial joy in your life, is when you get to a point where a switch is flicked on and you start to really focus on enabling other people, enabling and becoming that catalyst for other people taking their leaps and steps forward. The third reason is because of generational wealth, okay? When we think about generational wealth, and I've been invited to do many talks, I've spoken on panels to talk about this very topic of generational wealth. And when I think about this very subject, especially as somebody who I've come from a family where we've moved around a lot, we've lived in different places, and we've immigrated to the UK and settled here. I've often found myself almost trying to find my feet from a history perspective, trying to learn a lot more about where my family have come from, the history of my family line and stuff like that. And when people think about generational wealth, they think about that economically only. We always focus on the word wealth and think of money. But when I think about this idea of generational wealth, specifically tied to financial independence, I think about it from the perspective of culture. So how would becoming financially independent help us pass on our internal cultures to the next generation? How would it help us pass on our processes and systems to the next generation? How would it help us pass on the relationships that we've nurtured and spent years building? How would it help us pass that on to the next generation? And what again I've found is that for me personally, I've found that my parents spent many years working to make ends meet. We never really sat down to have deep conversation about these various aspects because they spent a lot of their time working most of the time, and what you find, what I'm finding now that we're financially independent, I've got a lot more of my available time and a lot more of my mind available to kind of think about this. I'm starting to think a lot more strategically about my family, about the next generation, about my children. I'm thinking a lot more about, how do we pass on what we are currently learning? This idea that we're running, for example, this financial education company called The Humble Penny. How do we pass on the learnings that we've picked up? How do we pass on the practical things that we've learned? How do we pass on the knowledge that's been passed down through experiences with our own parents? How do we pass those on? For me, this is a big motivation for financial independence, especially if you're somebody who is, who's got children maybe, or somebody who intends to have children. You have to think about this journey beyond just being about money, but starting to think, how do you pass those internal cultures, those things that make you who you are, that make your life and your family unit unique to you and your family? How do you pass those things on? Okay, for me, generational wealth is a compelling alternative reason for seeking financial independence, because you buy back a lot more of your time and your ability to reflect and your ability to take the required steps practically every day to make sure that these processes, these systems, the internal culture is passed on over a period of time to the next generation. Number 4 is to rediscover parenting. Okay, so before I took the leap to leave my corporate job, life was really all about the long hours. I'd commute for 2 hours one way, I'd commute back 2 hours the other way, I'd spend 8 to 10 hours at work, and before I know it, I'd come home and I'd be missing out on my kids' lives and so on. And what's interesting about it is I'm talking to you about it from my perspective, but the other side, because this video is really about other people, the other side of the coin is my children's perspective. What aspects of their daddy's life are they missing out on? What aspects of time with daddy, playing out in the woods and building things and being creative, are they missing out by their parent not being there for them as often as he would like sometimes? So for me, this idea of financial independence really is a really critical way of rediscovering the role that we are cherished to have as parents. I think about the great promotions in my life. The big promotions are, once upon a time I was single. And when I was single, I dreamed of maybe meeting my life partner and achieving that next life promotion. And next life promotion came, I met my wife Mary, and I got promoted to somebody who had become a married man, And the next great promotion then came about when we had our first son, Joshua. And out of that great promotion came a second son, Elias. And I'd become a parent, I'd become a dad. And out of that great promotion, which I consider to be my greatest promotion really, above any achievement that I've ever had, is my responsibility as a dad, as a parent. So I see this idea of achieving financial independence as a critical, almost step in helping us really accept that very important role as parents. If you're somebody who has children, I want you to really ponder upon financial independence from the perspective of what it might mean for the relationships that you will eventually have from a different perspective with your children. Imagine how much richer your relationships could become because you've found yourself at a place where you've simplified your life, you've managed your money well, and you've created options for yourself that your parents might not even have been able to create in their own lifetimes. Okay, I really hope you feel as strongly about this point as I do. For me, one of my greatest joys that I'm really seeing in my life right now is the idea that I have rediscovered my fatherhood. I'm relating to my children in a very, very different way, in a way that I've never really been able to relate to them before. And I'm so excited for what the future holds. And I hope that you also see this as an exciting possibility for you and an exciting motivation for seeking this journey towards financial independence. So the final alternative reason for seeking financial independence is to support charities and personal causes in your own life. Okay, I'm just going to give you some examples of personal causes. We've never really talked about them on our channel at all, but I just feel the need to to be really fearless here and really tell you, the sort of things we're doing in our lives and the sort of things we're going to be doing even more in our lives as time passes. Okay, I'm going to just look at my iPad here and just share some of them with you. Okay, so some of you might know that, we're a Christian family and we are people of faith. And for us, we feel a great call towards helping to build the church in various ways. We serve in various ways through using our skill sets, using our talents, and using our money as well. Okay, so becoming financially independent for us isn't just about us building wealth and accumulating wealth. We think about money very differently. And for us, it's really about money flowing through us and not just money flowing to us and stopping there. Okay, so from a faith perspective, a big part of what we are very passionate about doing and supporting is helping to grow the church. So a big part of the income that we generate through our activities here on the Humble Penny across all our platforms really goes out towards supporting the local church, which then goes out towards supporting the local communities, because we have lots of families, diverse families who attend our local church, and we feel that by sowing into the local church, we are also sowing into the lives of families. The second thing we're doing, and we're starting to do this a lot more, this has come on the back of some of the recent events, as I mentioned when I started this video, with what's been going on with the Black community around the world, in the UK, in the US, and so on. Mary and I have taken the big step personally, to support more Black businesses, Black-owned businesses. By that I mean supporting people who, rather than us spending all our money maybe on just Amazon or wherever, we're taking a very personal decision because we see this as a way of building our communities. Okay, we have to support each other. That doesn't mean that we're not going to spend money anywhere else, but what it means is that we're going to be a lot more intentional about where our money goes. We're going to be a lot more specific. Have we seen somebody who started a small business offering a particular service? Could we support them more by spending and supporting that business? So we want to be a lot more intentional about this, because it's easy enough talking about these issues and posting about them on social media and supporting each other in that way, but talking is really not going to be enough for us to move forward as a community. No offense to anybody else who's watching this channel, because of course I'm fully aware that lots and lots of people from lots of different places around the world, whether you're black, white, Asian, watch this channel. But what I'm really saying here is that as a black man, as an African, as somebody who has a black wife and black children, there's a huge responsibility on my part really to make sure that I support my community, especially where I see a lot of people from my community being marginalised in so many different ways. So for me personally, and this is very personal, and you have your own views and you have your own goals, but for me and my wife personally, we've taken that very personal goal to make sure that we are a lot more intentional in supporting the black community in the UK from the perspective of business. The third thing we're doing is that we support other charities. So we support a charity called Compassion, where we have a compassion child that we support essentially in Uganda, and our plans are to support even more children because as a family unit we have a huge passion to make sure that children, not just our children, but children who are in different parts of the world have the opportunity to experience a decent life, to experience good education and good living conditions and things like that. And this charity called Compassion is one that we pay money to every single month to support them, to help families that we would ordinarily not be able to reach ourselves. And our plan in the future is to support that charity even more and to take the steps to support even more charities in the future that kind of look into this area of helping children around the world live much better lives. The fourth thing I wanted to mention quickly on this particular area of charities and personal causes is that we've talked about this on our blog, but our dream is to create the Humble Penny Foundation. And that foundation will have a number of key mandates around financial education for young people and around supporting families around the UK. And out of that will be some of the projects that we also hope to be able to do, perhaps around making film productions around things. And out of that will come various other things that we want to do, our ability to support various other organizations that are doing really amazing things to help people get out of debt, to help people live better lives financially. These are people who are, by the way, I should mention, these are people who are of different backgrounds, of diverse backgrounds, who come from different cultures and so on. Out of this foundation would be the opportunity to help those people improve their financial lives and live decent lives and not feel like they are at the bottom of the society because they're just not able to make ends meet. Okay, so these are some of our dreams. These are just some of the ideas, but I wanted to speak to you about them personally because we don't often talk about financial independence from this perspective of giving and serving our communities. Okay, I really hope you've enjoyed that video. This is a very, very personal video. I've shared things that I ordinarily would not share. I would only share these various thoughts with very close friends, people who understand the heart for what we're trying to achieve. But today, I felt the need really to really go deep and share very specific things. In light of what's been going on around the country recently, and around the world recently, I just felt the need to speak here very personally, face to face with you, and just share my heart and just share, how we think about, and when I say we, I'm talking about me and my wife Mary, how we think about money when it comes to this idea of financial independence thinking about it as not just something that is there to make our lives better, but something that's ultimately there to help us act in our capacity as catalysts and enablers for change in the world around us. Okay, I really hope you've enjoyed that. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. Just help us support the channel. The likes help to encourage other people to watch our videos, and it improves the engagement on our channel. Okay, if you're new to this channel, please hit the subscribe button as well as that notifications bell so you get notified whenever we put up our videos, typically on a Tuesday as well as a Thursday. Okay, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. What are your personal alternative reasons for seeking financial independence? So beyond you wanting to travel and have a good life, what are those alternative reasons for seeking this journey towards financial independence? Let me know. This is a very personal chat. Let's talk about it. I think it's very important that we're open, that we're transparent, and that we are doing what's necessary to help each other move forward. All right, take care and bye for now.